Hello, hello. Hi. You never have to put my glasses on. Some things never change, right? Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. William Roebuck, it wouldn't be a night without you. Thank you very much. Artiste Sculpting, thank you for joining us. Joyvel695, thank you. Old Acre DP, thank you for joining us. We are just excited. I've got a marvelous guest tonight. Jamie R. Thompson, thank you for joining us. And my name is Kathleen Bertrand, and we've been doing our Bronze Lens Live interviews since last April or May. We started doing them during the pandemic, but it was perfect because we had always wanted to move into a virtual space with online talks and discussions, etc. And so over the past year, we have had some amazing people that have been a part of Bronze Lens Live, and our guest today is no different. I've known her many years, but I'm not going to talk about her yet. We're just going to let a few more folks join our conversation. I think there are some people that were looking at Jen's page, and so she's alerting them to come on over to this side. This is Clive EJ Salmon. Thank you for joining us. T Brand 2021. Glad to have you with us tonight. I hope everybody's continuing to stay safe and wear your mask. We're almost done. This time last year, we were just getting into the pandemic, and we didn't know what we were going into. Thank you, William. The Bronze Lens Live interviews have been so phenomenal, inspiring, educational. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ivy Night Live, thank you for joining us. Boss Lady Jonesy, thank you. But as I said, this time last year, we were all just getting into this space. It wasn't even called a pandemic yet, or maybe this was the day it was called the pandemic in March. And scary, not knowing anything, and being led by people that didn't know too much either. So that was doubly scary. But we made it, y'all. If you are on this call tonight, we made it. We may have lost a few friends and loved ones along the way, or maybe not. I don't know. That wasn't the case for me, but we made it to see another day, to create another project, to sing another song, to be kind to one more person. We made it this far, so we just got to hang on. Just hang on a little bit. Miss Jen Farris has sent a request to be in this video, and so ahead and go live with her. His Heart Love has joined us, and so thank you for that. And at any moment, you're going to see Jen. And there she is.
Hey,
Hey, Jen, how you doing?
it's me.
We made it. We
I'm good.
made
You're
it.
my live ever.
Really? Well, I'm so glad that it's with Bronze Lens. You know, you and I have been talking about this for a minute, and you're so phenomenal at what you do. And I just felt that people should know more about someone as unique as you. And it's Women's History Month, and so we're celebrating women and their achievements and their spaces that they've created. And so there's just a lot of love for you, and that's why you're here.
Ah, thank you. I have so much love for you, and it's so interesting. As people were hearing about it, they thought, "Oh my God, I love Miss Bertrand. She's this, she's that." You have a lot of fans on my mailing list, obviously. Hey, boo, I see
Um,
all my friends there. How y'all doing?
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
thank you for inviting me. Pretty
Yeah.
exciting. Might
You
have
know,
struck a nerve. Now I'm on live every day.
hey, we can do that. We can have that conversation, Jen. Okay, we can have that conversation. So you know, when you and I first met, you weren't doing nothing about no film, and neither was I. Neither was I.
No.
You were still in a creative space. But talk
Yeah.
about your ASCAP days.
Yeah, so I met you when I was in the music business, and I used to work for the ASCAP is an acronym for the American Society of Composers, Authors, Publishers, and we used to run the Atlanta region. Oh, excuse me, the Southeast region out of Atlanta, and
Okay, so Jen, 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 I lost your audio. I lost your audio. Can everybody hear Jen? Jen, hold 1 second. Hold 1 second. Hold 1 second. I lost your audio. I can't hear you. There's no sound. So why don't you go off and come back on? Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay, let's log off. Yeah, Jen, log off and come back on. Log off. Stand by, y'all. You can hear me, right? But you can't hear Jen. All right. All right, just stand by, everybody. One of the things that we've learned during this process is patience. Okay? So we know it will all work its way out. And Miss Jen has just such wisdom to share with us tonight. So I'm asking her to just log back on. All right, here she is. Let's try this one more time. Okay. Almost there. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
I'm
You're back?
I don't. That's weird, but can you hear me?
We can hear you now. It's a little,
We're still
it's
good.
kind of a
Yeah.
little in and out.
So what I was saying was, oh no. I see y'all. I'm saying no, no. I'm just gonna hold the phone. We taught a lot of people about royalties and how to log their songs and how to do point sheets and being a writer, publishing with ASCAP and other performing rights organizations. Those payments come for a lifetime, and after your life is over, you can generate wealth, pass it down in a willable space. So it was just a wonderful job to work for. I love working for ASCAP, but that's how I met you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I got pulled out of. It's funny, when I left ASCAP, writers were actually the people who pulled me to transition out of ASCAP and do PR work, because they were constantly asking me to write their bios. They were constantly asking them to years ago I used to work in the radio station, so they would always say, hey, do you think my song is film friendly? Do you think I could get a hit off this or get spins from this? And so it just kind of spun out, and I started doing PR work because at the time I loved it a lot. And I was really good at getting press for things. And so it just kind of, some of the songwriters were the ones who encouraged me to try it. Just, why don't you just be a publicist? And so I ended up in the film space when Twitter came around. I grew tired. I did that for 9 years, and I grew tired of. One day I remember waking up in Atlanta and 17 writers that I pitched stories to were laid off at the same time.
Oh my.
Like on the same, all the arts writers, theater writer, all the people that I pitched stories to in the creative space were all laid off at the same time. Because newspapers were shrinking, magazines were shrinking, Twitter was all, the rage. And people were wanting me to pitch stories in 32 characters. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. There's no way I'm going to pitch a thorough story and get it in a tweet or a blurb. So I just fell out of love with doing publicity after a while, because it was just, for me, the story was the most important thing. And when I read that film, I read the newspaper every morning, and I would read it in the trades. That film was heading to the Southeast region. And I thought, well, now here's another way to tell a story. And I had always wanted to go in the film business, but it wasn't on the Southeast, in a consistent way.
That's right.
I just didn't see it. So
You're right.
I thought, this is a chance to finally work in the film industry, but not have to leave Atlanta.
Yeah.
I just never thought I would stay, and it was here.
Yeah.
And I said, if that train rolls in, I better be on that caboose. Okay, I better be somewhere on that track.
Well,
and that's
you
just
smart enough to catch the wave and see the wave coming. When BronzeLens began in 2010, the wave was just coming, and to have been able to establish this place where filmmakers come to talk about film, Black film, particularly in Atlanta. What did somebody call us? The culture capital, was significant. It was significant that BronzeLens was able to ride this wave of film production and people bringing their projects into Atlanta and really creating a space for people that look like us, that really had not been.
No, I pinched myself consistently. I could not believe that it was really happening, because we grew up in Atlanta with Cannonball Run, Dukes of Hazzard, all those shows coming out of Covington, Heat of the Night.
Yes.
And that was about it. There were far in between, a few shows here and there, but it was really just kind of Southern Dixie type shows.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, there's shows that are coming here. And so I remember early on, really one asset that I had back then, I can't believe that was almost 11 years ago, was that I was a native. And I would have location managers cling to me because I knew how to get around. I knew where 285 was. I knew where the 20 was. And I knew how to cut around traffic. And I knew the back roads.
Back roads.
And I remember.
That's right. Back roads. Yes, ma'am.
And I would cut them in and out. They would take me on director scouts. And sometimes it would be a van of us. And they would say, okay, Jen, ride with us. We need you to just be in the van. And it gave me first dibs on, I would sit in the truck sometimes in the van with producers, directors, sometimes the writer of the episodes. But because I knew my way around, they would just latch onto me early on. And I just thought, man, talk about timing. And the fact that I was from here was such a wonderful asset, and I could get in and out of spaces because I had relationships with people already in the neighborhood. And I could just pick up the phone and call Miss Jenkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Miss Jenkins, look, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. And they would just open the doors, for me, because I was just in and out of these wonderful assets early on. I just remember how early it was, and they were willing to teach my job better because they liked me. A lot of them really liked me, and they knew that I could pull it off. I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing, So some of them would take a little extra time with me early and just say, hey, don't do it this way, do it that way. Or, hey, when you do this thing, okay, stop doing that. Do it like this, or, and so I was always open to being teachable. And
And that's important. It's
it
so
was
important too.
a position for me.
So,
I'm older than I look, but I'm never too old to learn. Like I'm constantly open to learning things. And I thought, golly, if this stays in Georgia, I really want to continue to do this. I enjoyed it so much.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So let me ask a question then that maybe people may be asking. I'm not sure. Um, at some point, you went from riding in cars to actually being the person, right? The location scout. I mean, I'm not to say that you
I was
got in cars, but you went from, somebody just, hey, Jen, come along, and, using your knowledge to actually being paid for your knowledge.
no, I was paid from the beginning.
Oh,
I was always out. They early on, the first two people that kind of threw me in the water was a woman named Karen Mason. She was the first person to tell me, you can do this, you're smart, I know you can pull this off, and be one to do some work. So they hired me as a scout. It was
that name. I know that name.
Project.
Yeah.
We met in the music business about 20 years
yes.
ago.
Yeah.
And then lost touch. And then I called from her, you kind of put things in the universe. And the second time I'm someone who did this was A.B. Cooper. BronzeLens had a festival. I was helping with publicity for the festival, and you all hosted a scout tour.
That's right.
And I took pictures on the bus for the festival, and I just thought, oh. So I had already worked, but that was the first time I had been around while they were showing this is where this was filmed and this is where that was filmed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've ridden past that building a million times. I never realized that was that, location. And so AB was the first person to actually it was like the sealing my thoughts of, okay, I see the big picture now. I can take something, transform it into something else with the art department's vision and their expert different than it is with the naked eye. And so, but I was always a scout.
So for those that don't know who
AB
is, can you give a little background into him? Uh-oh, we lost you again. Lost you again. I can't hear you. Okay, can you log off and come back? We can't hear you. Log off and come back. All right. We're making progress, so just hang with us. Isn't it fascinating, though? Yes, BronzeLens used to have a tour. When we first started, we had a tour of sites as part of our film festival where films that starred Black people had taken place. And we got Roger Bob, who was with Tyler Perry Studios at the time, gave me a list of all of these places where various productions had been held. And we took that, and I was going to have her tell you who AB was, but AB is Al Cooper. And Al has been doing this location scouting for many years. He is the dean. Was a very good friend of the festival, still is. And I was so glad that Jen could connect with him at BronzeLens Festival, because if Al knows you, there's just so much that he could share about the business. And he was doing it before Georgia was popular. before Black movies were popular. Al Cooper was doing great things. So I just want to give a shout out to him. And anybody seen Jen? So she should be coming back around in just a second. Hopefully she will be with us in just a moment. I think it's her connection. And so perhaps she's trying to change that. Okay, hold on. Let's see if she's here yet. Hey, Kathy Praises. How you doing? Bad connection again. Yes, she's going in and out. Yes. She's on her phone, only one Camille. She's on her phone. Maybe she can try using her headphones. I can suggest that to her. Let's keep going. Yes, supporting my cousin. Yes, Tam Tunes, thank you so much. So she's logged off and we're just waiting to see if she can log back on and hopefully being yes, she is Frank Ambrusco. Yes, and that's why she's on BronzeLens Live because the people that we talk to are amazing at what they do. Hi, Jen. She only needs to be on her computer and a headset. So Jen, can you try your computer and a headset? Yes, everybody's saying, can she join by her computer? I can't call her because I'm on my phone. So just hang with us for a little while. She commented above, right? But she did not request to be in the meeting. So I have to have that. Yes, ma'am. Let me see if I can find her. Hey, Palmer Williams, glad to hear from you. Let me see if I can find her. All right, Miss Jen, she's going to try. Computer? Hold on, everybody. It's not letting me request. Okay, Jen, so let me just come and find you. All right? Just let me come find you. Hold on. All right. All right. Go live with Miss Jen Farris. And here we are again. Stand by, everybody.
There it is.
There she is.
Can you?
We can see you and we can hear you.
And y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
That's so weird. I'm so sorry.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm sorry, y'all, that y'all had to wait. I can hear y'all, but it wouldn't let me back in. So yeah. But yeah, I was always a scout. I was always brought on to really great projects. But in addition, they would just latch on to me. And it was just a wonderful, the timing could not have been better. But A.B. Cooper, yeah, he's a veteran scout here in Atlanta who.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Ria is our BronzeLens person that's on the call. Ria, can you open up a Zoom for us? Is that possible? That you could open up a Zoom for us and that we can just get everybody to regather and we put something here with a link so that everybody can join us on Zoom. Is that possible, Ria? Ria is our go-to engineer, producer person, and she's the person I ask all things of. I am not technically astute or technology astute or whatever the word is. I'm not. Hang on, Jen. We're going to try to do something for you. What is this? Ivy Night Live is going to volunteer a room for us. All right, Miss Ivy Night Live. I'm not sure how does that go. So you would open the room and then you would put the link here in this thread and we would all go there. Is that how that goes? All right, just stand by, everybody. Our Jen has way too much information and we love her. And this is her first Instagram. I know you're having issues. So just hang on. Hang on. All right, Miss Ivy Night Live. Well, then let's try it. Let's try that. So we have a volunteer. Wait. Link will be posted on our Facebook page. Okay, Ria, our engineer, is doing it now. So Ria, can you copy the link and stick it in here? Is that possible, or do I need to go to our Facebook page to find it? Hey, Get Cosmo. Nice to see you out here with us. Okay. Y'all are so patient. We love you. And I know you love Jen and you want to support her. So thank you for that. Just hang on, Jen. I've never made a live transfer from one platform to the other. So this is going to be interesting. Things that we learn in the pandemic, right? Things we learn in the pandemic. Just stand by.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm going to try a tablet this time. Forget that old phone.
Oh, okay. one of your lovely friends was going to set us up on Zoom so that we didn't have those.
I saw that.
Yes.
I can see that's Frank.
Okay.
Well, I'm one of the first two, and I see my family on here. I see my mom. I see my brother, my cousins, Frank. I see Camille. I see a lot of friends on here. Yeah. But I have to also give a shout out to every homeowner. I would say if I've tapped on your door, I see Carol. I see if I've tapped on your door, I see nightclubs on here. I see homeowners. Hey, there's a nightclub there, Steve. But yeah, the thing is, I try to stay in touch. Hey, see, look, I try to stay in touch with the properties in town have been so lovely for me, and I can honestly say I really appreciate the assistance that homeowners, club owners, church owners, you name it, they have just been delightful to work with, and their properties have been instrumental in us telling these wonderful stories. Tammy, Frank.
So
Jamie.
Let's talk about some of the projects that you've worked on. One of my favorites is Atlanta, the TV series. Of course, because what's the name of it? Yes, of course.
Of course.
Let's talk about that, because there have been some fabulous mansion-looking places, and then I'm always trying to identify the streets, Jen. Every time I see something, I'm trying to say, well, that's at the corner of. So how do you find those places? In the process, do you get the script first, or among the first to get the script so that you can go and find these places? Is that the process?
Yep, I have to get the script first. And if I can give a scenario, can I give an example without running over time? But this might give you I'll make up a fake script real quick. So say if we have a character who just came in from roller skating, right? So it'll say something like, Ron comes in from roller skating. Here's a knock at the door. Checks the door. No one's there. Here's a knock again. He basically roller skates out to the other door to open it. So basically, I don't know anything about his house, but I know if he was coming in the house on roller skates, then I assume that he has hardwoods. I have to know that, okay, there's a door in the front. There's a door in the back. I have to assume some things about this property as far as the layout goes. So when I'm scouting, I have to use my imagination as my biggest tool. I read the scripts thoroughly, right, but I read them and I have to dissect the movement of the characters. How do they move? Mm-hmm. When he goes to the front door, is he in the living room? Is he in the kitchen? Like, where is this character? Mm-hmm. And depending on the era of a story, Atlanta is set in today. This is modern time. Mm-hmm. So the properties are really just what they say in today's modern era. But if it's a property that's, you know, if it says set in 1946, then I can't assume the house might be a bungalow, because those would have existed in the 40s, a Victorian style home. You know, I have to know what era the architecture of the home would have been, or the architecture of the building, or the, you know, different textures of, like, you know, there was marble was an active texture back in the 20s. You know, wood was an active texture used in the 20s. But as you rolled into the 70s, you kind of start seeing stone and that kind of thing. But Atlanta, yeah, a lot of that one of the houses in Atlanta was, you know, shot in Roswell, but we've been all over the metro on Atlanta. It's really just, my job is to match the story, but to basically be able to show how the characters are moving in the story.
Yes.
So if it says they're walking down a street, I can't assume it's a street, you know, something that they can control for sound and traffic. But a lot of people don't really think about locations, but I'll tell you, there's a movie that was called Bridges of Madison County.
I remember.
Y'all remember that?
Yes.
You can't have a movie with a bridge and not know that that's a location.
Right.
Somebody to determine which bridge. They probably drove all over the country or wherever they were based, looking for the right bridge to tell that story. And people watch movies and they don't really think about who found the bridge, who cleared the traffic from the bridge. If you watch that movie, there was never a lot of traffic going over and across the bridge. Someone had to control that, and the locations department is who controls that. They are, I would say, and if you correlated anything to locations, I would say locations departments are the ultimate wedding planners. You know, the bride is the actor, the groom is the other actor. You know, you have a catering, you have wardrobe, you have all these pieces, even transportation. You have a cast, which could be your groomsmen and your bridal party. You know, you have all these moving pieces. But usually at a wedding, people just compliment the bride on her dress. They don't necessarily compliment the wedding planner. You know, there's someone who worked behind the scenes to orchestrate all those pieces, because wardrobe has to be here at a certain time. Hair and makeup have to be here at a certain time. Where do they do the hair and makeup? You know, where is the wedding taking place? Oh, it's in a church, or it's on a pond, or it's in a lakefront, or, you know, someone has to determine all of those pieces. But in a film and television show, the locations department is the nucleus of that set. And me as the scout, if you can correlate it to like a relay race, I'm leg one. So I will get the script first and read it. Myself, the art director, the location manager, they tell me what they're envisioning the words to translate as. You know, we want this character to be of this wealth level and of this, you know, status in life. And we think their house should be a $100,000 home, or it should be a ranch, or it should be a bungalow, or, you know, they tell me kind of what they think. And if they don't have an idea, then they leave it up to me to translate the script. And that's when I start knocking on doors. And I meet people like Miss Jamie, who's down there. She and I worked on a project with Oprah Winfrey before, in Harrelson, Georgia, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And I got a chance. Miss Jamie's in there. Throw some hearts up, Miss Jamie. But yeah, all of us, I see her in the chat. She's down there. But, you know, you meet wonderful people in these small towns when you're telling stories in small town spaces. And you meet people like shows like Atlanta. In these high, you might have a penthouse, you might have alleyway, you know, whatever the story is wanting us to express is what I find on leg one. That's my job. So my job is to stay ahead of the story at least 30 days.
Wow.
If in a perfect world, it doesn't always happen that way. But I'm usually the first one hired when I come onto a show. The staff has the crew has barely been identified when I come on. Because if I get in front of everybody, then they have a place to tell the story.
Yes.
Like without me, without a scout, where are they going to film?
Yes.
Like, you know, I worked for people like Tyler Perry before, who is majority in a studio. But like in the movie Nobody's Fool, I scouted Nobody's Fool for Tyler Perry, but most of his story was on a set. If in the characters, if you saw that movie Nobody's Fool, when they were in New York,
Mm-hmm.
I had to find New York City, or I had to find a real church or a coffee shop, the exterior, but
What
Tyler Perry
had
filmed
a mom
inside.
and Tika? That one, is that Nobody's Fool? They had
Yeah,
Omari.
it was Tika, Whoopi Goldberg, and Omari Hardwick and Tiffany Haddish.
That wasn't New York.
But
That wasn't.
no, that was not New York. I found New York in downtown Atlanta.
Okay.
If you watch the story again, you'll probably recognize that it's down there near the federal buildings, down near the Rialto.
Okay.
But if you watch it again, you'll recognize.
You remember when he comes out with the flowers and she's walking off with another dude, and then he just drops the flowers on the ground. I don't know if you remember that scene, but I love that scene. So, but that was
a lot of that was.
That's got to be New York, because I could not recognize anything in there that looked like Atlanta.
No, but if you really walk Atlanta, you'll see a lot of cities in Atlanta, and I'm often asked to replicate cities that are not Atlanta. I've asked to find Chicago, Detroit, Miami, Mexico. I've asked New York City, Los Angeles County. I've asked to find the beach. I've asked to find mountains. I mean, you name it. I've asked to find the year 1870. I've asked to find the year, you know, you name it. I've gone from, I mean, the beginning of the Constitution and all the way to 2021.
Wow.
You know, but a lot of people bring me on projects to scout past. A lot of times I'm brought onto stories to find things in prior eras.
Well,
you know, I've asked
about Lovecraft Country right quick then. Get Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country? Oh my gosh.
Yes, ma'am.
That story was so heavy in architecture. It was a team of us that scouted Lovecraft Country. Okay. That was not an easy show to scout, because they went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which wasn't Tulsa. That actually was Macon, Georgia. They went to mostly Atlanta. They went to Noonan. We went all over the metro for that story, because that story was so geographically necessary to match architecture.
Yeah.
That story took place in the 1940s. Mm-hmm. So little things, little details, like I mentioned, the marble, the brick was important when they told the story in Tulsa. And the thing about Lovecraft Country was they had a lot of exteriors. So if you think about it, most people don't think about this, but it makes it hard for scouts when new developers come in and they build around an era of homes that are old and throw up a new construction home. So if you go back and look at Lovecraft Country, for example, they were outside in Tulsa, that scene in Tulsa. And in Chicago, they were outside a lot. So if a character walks up to a door, they're looking at the door, but the person who answers the door is looking behind the character's head. So you have to assume the building behind me is old. If they're saying that the scene is 1947, I can't have a new construction behind my head if the character is supposed to be 1947. So it really brings a lot of challenges to scouts when they're filming outside. Mm-hmm. And even you'll see that a lot in Genius. That's another story that had a very specific era. I can't tell. I don't want to spoil where that was shot.
Yes.
But that was shot 100% in Atlanta, Georgia. Not Atlanta Metro. Let me say the Atlanta Metro, which are, you know, from East Point, College Park, DeKalb County, like Cobb County. But Fulton County got quite a bit of that story in. But it's very important that we told the story in buildings that were old, because Aretha Franklin's story started as a little girl when she was a child.
Yes.
So the texture of her childhood, I think she was maybe born in the 40s.
So,
And it rose all the way through the 80s. So I had to scout 40 years of architecture on that story. 40 years.
A lot of people saw the first episode various ways. You know, it streamed last weekend and all, you know, it's just, and so there was a particular church when she was just in her father's church. Was it in Atlanta? That setting that was in Atlanta?
Yep, that was in Atlanta.
I think
that's a church that's active in Atlanta. I won't spoil and say where it is, but y'all know that's an active Atlanta church.
Yeah.
And if you look at the stone, it was there's a lot of stone on that church.
Yes. So you just gave it all.
But
I won't say anything.
Totally amazing. There are a lot of really old Atlanta burned, so we have, you know, a few 1800 era properties still here, but most of Atlanta is 1910. The West End has a lot of 1800 structures, but most of Atlanta probably hits around 1910.
Okay.
And so we can tell stories that go back to the 20s very easily in Atlanta.
Okay.
There are little pockets, and definitely the 40s. You know, 40s was depending on your wealth. You had, you know, low-income people who lived in slat homes, Cabbage Town, those old slat homes around Auburn Avenue. Those were probably easily low-income 1920s, 30s, 40s. So we can go back that far, and you can go back to wealthy 1800s to, 1940s in Atlanta.
Talk about Mary Jane. Talk about being Mary Jane, because I have to get something in right. So, being Mary Jane was,
being Mary Jane was great. Yeah, that was my first TV series that I ever scouted. Being Mary Jane was a thrill to work on. I got a chance to work with Regina King twice. Before I actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I scouted Regina King's directorial debut. We scouted it here. They picked me to be the scout. Roger Bob actually brought me on to be the scout, him and Angie Bones.
Let the church say amen. That one? Let the church say amen.
Let the church say amen. Yep. They hired me for that. So I scouted for Regina King, her first directorial project. And I'm so proud to say that, because now she's on her way to the Oscars, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I scouted with her again on Being Mary Jane. But that story, Mary Jane was a wealthy girl, well-off girl. So she lived in a really fly house in her storyline. But it's interesting, the house sold between seasons. So the first season was a real property, but the second season was a set. Really? They had to replicate the house because someone bought it.
Wow.
It wasn't the same owner.
Wow.
And that house had already been established as Mary Jane's house. So her pool, all of that stuff was brought in. Yeah. They had to bring it in. Yeah.
How do you bring in a pool? Tell me how do you do that? How do you bring in a pool? How does that happen? How does that work?
It's called dinero. You can do a lot of things with mucho dinero, okay? These film companies have the bucks, okay? They can bring in a pool. But if you notice, if you go back and watch Being Mary Jane, the second season, I think, she doesn't go outside a lot.
Yeah.
She answers the door, but she doesn't know. They might ring the bell.
Yeah.
But you don't really see a whole lot of driveway. You don't see a lot of outside. You see a lot of indoor pool, the pool, or you would see her answer the door.
Gotcha.
And that's because it was a set.
Gotcha. Talk about the Bobby Brown story. I just want to get in.
I love Bobby Brown.
Have worked on, and I'm not sure if people just know it. Talk about the Bobby Brown story, because
Bobby Brown. First of all, Bobby Brown is the king of R&B. Let's just put that out there. So I'm a 1980s New Edition fan to the core. New Edition was my first concert in 1984. My parents let me go on a Wednesday night. I will never forget it. Thank you, Mom. I know you in this call. She let me go to a Wednesday night concert, New Edition. So when I got a chance to work on that Bobby Brown story, I was elated about it, because I've always loved Bobby Brown, New Edition. But yeah, they filmed that. They followed his life. He had concerts and that kind of thing. I just remember scouting houses. He had different, I think, girlfriends' houses. He moved around a lot, but I just remember a lot of performance spaces and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They had a house in Buckhead. They had, he had his house as he was older, like cookouts and that kind of thing. And I remember knocking on the sweetest lady's door, and I was the first person to ever knock on her door, and they ended up choosing her house for the Bobby Brown story, and she was just elated. I just, I get calls from neighbors, and one thing I tell neighbors is I might scout them for one project, but they might not get chosen for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't lose touch with my neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
which is why some are on this call.
I love it.
I call them repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
If something matches their story, I really do my best to stay in touch with these neighbors
Mm-hmm.
and property owners, because things circle back.
Yeah.
And I scouted her for something else. It didn't stick, but it stuck for the Bobby Brown story.
Okay.
So
Okay.
But yeah, I like these stories that have come here.
So I have a couple of others I want to hit right quick that you can talk about, and then I want to be able to take some questions. And if we need to, if we run out, then we'll just log back on the same way. So then
good, because I feel like we lost time with my connection.
We did.
My iPhone was acting up.
We did. All right, let's talk about American Soul.
Yes. Okay, so Soul Train is my life, and before the microwave oven, I will attest that my mother would fix breakfast for us, and we ate cold breakfast every Saturday morning because the Soul Train line was 911 priority. So when the American Soul came to Atlanta, and they called me to work on it, the manager, I think it was Jason Underwood, maybe no, it was a guy named Miguel Tapia. He was the manager on the first season, Jason on the second season. It was so nostalgic for me. I cannot tell you how excited I was to work on that project, because Soul Train was such a part of my life growing up. But Don Cornelius' story began in 1969, Chicago. And I had to roll the architecture from 1969 Chicago to 1971 Los Angeles.
Wow.
Which Los Angeles, a lot of the architecture there is mid-century modern. Chicago architecture is more like you would see the same kind of architecture you would see in Harlem. The big, not Tudor homes, the big, I call American Four Squares. They're the big houses with the stone. They're heavy and brick because they have to withstand the cold.
Right.
But in Los Angeles, the properties are much lighter because it's warmer there. So you have more bungalows. You have more bungalows. You have more mid-century modern brick. And the old brick was long brick. The old bricks are long and narrow. And I had to find ranch style homes. And so I researched, and I found an authentic ranch style home from 1973 that had not been restored. On the west side. I mean, there's so much architecture here. And Don Cornelius had his stories, part was fictional, but he was almost like an alter ego character. He had very light and bright, and he had very grimy. So I had to go into, back areas and trap looking spaces where these crime mob guys would be. Chicago, they were from the streets.
So where did you find those kind of spaces, Jen? Where did you find those kind of spaces, though?
I have to just dig them up. I mean, if I know the era, Rodeo Drive and all these things, I actually research a lot. I'm an intense researcher. So I Google has become my best friend, but I often, and magazines and books, I look through Architectural Digest all the time, but I have to know what era the story is taking place, and I'll search those properties from that era. Like I'm constantly looking up properties from the year of our stories. and the city of our stories.
Mm-hmm.
So 1969 Chicago and 1969 New York could also be 1929 Chicago, 1929 New York. The properties haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
But in LA and Atlanta and Miami, their properties have different textures.
Absolutely.
You know, Miami has stucco. You know, the South has a lot of porches because people sit on the porch.
That's right.
You know, so you're not going to find these old, open, airy properties in the South.
Mm-hmm.
But in New York, Chicago, you're going to find a lot of brick. Baltimore, where it's cold, you know, and so I have to just really do a lot of research on architecture. Is my biggest starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And for American Soul, because Don Cornelius traveled between Chicago and Los Angeles, I had to know the architectural styles for both cities.
Wow.
You know, I have to really know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because his wife and children stayed behind in Chicago.
That's
he
right.
was in LA.
That's right. That's right.
So I had to flip, but Atlanta was the home for that whole project. Nothing was filmed outside of Atlanta.
That is just so amazing. So are you finding that producers like the variety of locations that you can pull and put together in Atlanta? You know, if you're in Chicago, would you have that much variety? If you actually were in Chicago, would you have the variety of styles that you can create, say, in Atlanta?
Well, I think the benefit of Atlanta has so many architectural eras and styles in a 20-mile radius. But beyond Atlanta, in cities like Harrelson, Sonoy, Covington, Conyers, you have a lot of vast lands, a lot of rural towns, a lot of old charm that Atlanta has changed. Atlanta is constantly evolving, and there's a lot of demolition going on and a lot of reconstruction going on and restoration happening.
Yes.
So if I want authenticity, sometimes you can't find it in I call it 360 degree, because like I said, there's that reverse. I have to think about what's around me. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you run into a city where you absolutely have characters outside. Mm-hmm. They have to be able to turn in a full circle with the camera, because characters don't walk in a straight line. Mm-hmm. They don't just look in one direction. They're turning around, they're hopping in the car, mm-hmm. they're moving. So the camera has to follow them. And the benefit of I think Atlanta is great because you can go from the farmhouse to the penthouse to the crack house in 10 miles. Okay.
Say that again.
And
say that again. Sounds
from the farmhouse to the penthouse to the crack house. Okay. But you can do that in a 10-mile radius of Atlanta. And when they say time is money, it is. And they have to move production trucks. It costs money to move. And so if they can film all of that in a radius of 10, 20 miles, that's great. If they can film it in 10 to 40 miles, that's great too. Mm-hmm. But you can tell a story between Sonoy and Atlanta. You can tell a story between Buford and Atlanta. You can tell a story between Dallas, Georgia and Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And you can tell a story on a farm and in an inner city. You can pretend like Atlanta is New York if you want to have the high rises. And if you just want to have country life with dirt roads, you can have that too. Mm-hmm. But it's my job to find the dirt roads in Atlanta, because Atlanta still has dirt roads inside of the metro. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they might not have time to drive way out. But then mm-hmm. sometimes you have to. Mm-hmm. If you want an authentic story, you have to go where the authenticity is.
That's right.
And there's no excuse for, if it's 30 miles, 40 miles, then they have to just go there. If they want to tell the proper story, you have to go where the story can be told. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's my job to find where the story can be told. And sometimes I'm able to share textures inside of spaces that you would never know were there. Like even, I posted on my Instagram once that there are buildings on Auburn Avenue with Black faces carved into the stone. Mm-hmm. Like people don't know because we're driving everywhere. Mm-hmm. But there are things that you see on foot that you don't see in the car.
That's true.
And lack of buildings the tops of buildings, rooftops. Like I'm constantly up and down on rooftops and
Mhm.
inside of alleys and crevices and cracks, and you just wouldn't see that stuff. And location scouts have wonderful access points.
Mhm.
People give us great access to things that I've probably seen more as a location scout than I've seen as a native Atlantan.
Wow. Yes, I can imagine. I can imagine. Yes, I can imagine. So look, we are right on very close to 9. And I want to
Yeah,
open up for a couple of more questions about your projects. I want to talk about your most recent a little bit more, which is Genius. And then I
yeah.
want to open up for questions because you got all these wonderful folks on here that have just been, putting hearts and everything in here. And so I'm asking everybody if you will give us 5 minutes to reset, if you'll log off and then let me reset and come back on so that we can really have some more time with Jen. As she mentioned, and certainly I would say too, we lost some time with her connections and everything. So put some hearts in here. Let me know that you're okay, that you'll come back and join us for some more.
Please come back. Hearts,
Please,
hearts, hearts.
please, baby,
I
baby.
feel like I lost time.
So much to cover, so much to cover. So we're going to sign off for 5 minutes. That'll give me a chance to save this file, and then I'm going to log right back on. So give us 5 minutes, y'all, okay? Thank you all so
Okay,
much. Thank you, Jen. I'll see you in 5 minutes.
come back.
Come back. Okay, I'll see you in 5.
Okay.